Hello, everybody. I am Tina Zion, and on my YouTube channel, I always want to talk about intuition, medical intuition, or mediumship. And so today, I will want to read you this question that somebody sent to me. And maybe it's a question that applies to you as well. So listen to this. When you are asking for guidance from spirit, is there some way to know when they are present and listening? You have mentioned noticing movement to the right or the left, but I don't notice any movement from spirit. I just hope they're there. So I have all kinds of things to say about that. That when we have an expectation about what should happen when our spirit guides do appear or are with us, when we have an expectation that it needs to be, or it should be, or it probably will be this way, or it will be that way, all that means is we're getting in the way. If we expect our guides to look a certain way, uh, we expect them to stand here in front of us, or over here to the side of us, or behind us. That is going to always get into our way. So I always want to make this about you, the listeners, and the people who have come to my courses and now my YouTube. How have you been expecting the guides to be? How are you expecting where they will arrive? How are you or what are you expecting them to say? Or how are you expecting them to answer you? So I really want you to listen to this and maybe even watch it a couple of times or put it on pause and really notice, make this all about you, really notice what have you been expecting? Because the stronger our expectations are, the more likely we are to miss their information and miss realizing that they're right there with us. So again, this person's questions is when you're asking for guidance from spirit, is there a way to know when they are present and listening? See, that's very, very specific, present and listening. Okay, well, when we call in a certain level of guides, and I only work with divine and sacreds, and I'll talk more about that too in really soon here later on. Um, when when we really work with divine sacred, they are always there. They do have specialties that they specialize in, but they're always there. So her question is when they are present and when they are listening, they're always present, but they're so fine and light and vibrating at a higher level. If you're working with this level of guide, we are not going to feel them like we feel a living human walk through the door into the room. So the more you think it will be that way, the more you will probably miss, a sense of them being there. So I find this very, very interesting, and I hope this really helps. Now, I want to talk about what everybody calls the clairs, but I hope to speak about them in a different way than what most people do. The first one is always clairvoyance, and that's literally seeing. Well, everybody takes that clairvoyance and the word seeing, that you have to see them with your eyes wide open. You have to see them right there, and we always mostly expect them to be in human form. They're not humans. If we are using deceased people as our guides, which I'm going to talk about more in the future, not to please not do that, they will have more substance. A deceased person who is there saying, "Oh, I can be your guide," has more substance, so we are more likely to feel them coming in or leaving or whatever they're doing. But with the divine and sacred, they're not going to feel like humans because they're not. They're not going to feel even slightly solid because they're at such a super duper high vibration. They're going to be actually oftentimes harder for we living people to actually see them. So I want you to, if you could, relax about this clairvoyance, relax about trying real hard to see them. If anything, there might be a glow in the room, and it would be even maybe a huge, beautiful glow, or it might just be, oh, something seems a little lighter in the room. And that would be clairvoyance. And then when we do perceive a deceased person, as we're doing mediumship, they will tend to have more density and be a little easier for we living people to see them. So, so that's one. Now, clairaudience. We receive the words with clairaudience really means with hearing the words. Now, I'm going to ask you to actually notice that clairaudience is receiving information in words, not actually hearing with your ears and your eardrums. There's a huge difference there. I hope I said it um, so that it made sense to you. I'll say it again. Clairvoyance is considered hearing. But what most intuitives, and I've known lots of them over the years, including myself, when they say clairvoyance and I hear them, I really notice what you're actually, most of us doing, I would say 98% of the time, that we are receiving the information from the deceased or from our guides in words leaping into our minds. That is a huge thing and a huge difference than trying so hard to hear them with a voice or hear them touching the sound waves with our eardrums. No, it's almost always words popping in, popping in. And a lot of you will know I will say, and I'll say in probably in all of my videos, I'll say always take the pop. The instant pop of words coming into your mind will be the deceased or our guides responding or giving us information or answering our questions. Okay. A lot of times they will give us songs. Now, most people just think that the title of the song might be the message. But now, really think about this. When you hear a song, you're actually almost always hearing a tiny portion of the song, the lyrics, and that lyric keeps repeating. I have found over the years that that's the message, not so much the title of the song, but it's that segment of the song and what the words are, that is the message coming through to you in a clear audience way. Okay. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps. And look for phrases, not for full sentences either. Okay. So now we have clairsentience. And clairsentience is feeling. And literally, again, we will tend to feel a deceased person more than what our guides, because of that density of deceased and the very high level of vibration and frequency of the guides. So to feel them now depends on how earth connected the deceased are. I have actually sat in the evening and have felt a hand come and touch my shoulder, and it felt very gentle, very loving. It didn't surprise me because it shouldn't shock you. If we go into shock or a fear, then we won't be able to pick up anything. But when we feel them, it's really, really different. We can feel like there is a sense. Now, really notice how vague this is kind of sounding when we can feel them, it's usually, oh, like a sense of someone in the room with you, a sense of someone in a particular place in the room. Uh, and that is really, really, really what we're talking about with feeling um, in intuitive ways, feeling in medical intuitive ways, and in mediumship. That is the feel. So you'll just get more of a sense of a location in your area, outdoors, or in your house, or wherever, in the grocery store, wherever you're at. And that is that clairsentience. So it's really, really rare, though, that you will feel a hand touch you like I did. Okay. Now, there's and I don't even know if I'm saying it right, clairgustance, and that is taste. And occasionally, I will get, especially doing medical intuition, I will pick up what's going on physically with your client in medical intuition that I teach. And I will pick up many times, they have too much salt, so I'll get a salt taste in my mouth. If they're diabetic, I will get a sweet, sticky, almost not very sticky, but just kind of sticky, like you have, I don't know, caramel candy in your mouth, something like that. And I will know that the person that I'm working with probably has a really high level of sugar in their system or have diabetes. So that's what I would say with taste. Now, claircognizance, I think I'm saying that correctly, is that sense of just knowing. And if I ask you, a question and you're not real sure of it, well, you don't have that sense of knowing, that feel of knowing. But how often have you just um, had a wave of knowing come through to you that someone that you know is struggling right now? That's what I'm talking about, is that sense of just knowing. And the more you trust that sense of knowing, the more clear it will be, the more accurate you will be, is to really honor that knowing. And then the smell is the last one. I think it's called Claire Claire lessons. I don't know. So anyway, the smell. Um, a lot. Here's a common smell. Um, the deceased person used to love flowers, and so a wave of flowers would come in. I know someone whose grandfather smoked a pipe, and so she always knew that when she had that smell of that particular tobacco that he always used, then they knew that their grandfather was there. Now, these are very, very real, and if you think about it, all of these are really electrical signals coming through. It's not going to be solid like my cup here. And yes, Yoda's on my cup. And so be aware that the spirit realm is not in a physical structure like we are here on earth, like we are here on our bodies, that uh, that it is vibration. Again, it says electrical currents. But don't try hard. That's the key. Don't try hard, because that gets back to her question. When I've asked for guidance, is there some way to know when they are present and when they're listening? If you're asking for guidance, begin to feel that trust that your guides are there. And I'll get more into that too as we go along. Um, so that's what I have for you today. And we're going to get deeper and deeper into this. So if you want, you can send me some more questions and I will try and get to them, but I'm going to attend to really one question for each video. And so thank you so, so very, very much. Please sign up. Please subscribe if you would, and if it feels right to you. And my email is tina@tinazion.com. Bless your heart. Bye bye.